Hey, it's Tiana with Oscillations by Volvox Observer. Let's oscillate with creatives about their lifestyles and livelihoods. Subscribe to the Volvox Observer Patreon for access to video versions of Oscillations. Today we're talking with Myles Wheeler, a film director and editor based in London, UK. His latest film, Boy Ant, was showing online at Edinburgh Fringe from August 5th to 29th, but now you can find it on his YouTube channel. We had this conversation back in August, but then I moved country and my life completely changed, so I needed time to get this all together. But you can listen to this episode now and read it online, and it'll also be in the newspaper, so sorry for the delay. We had a really fun conversation, and I hope you enjoy. Hello.
Hello, Tiana. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, all good. Thanks. All good. Well, is that how you pronounce your name? Tiana, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's Myles, right? Yeah.
It is. You nailed it.
Great. Yeah. Sorry about the time thing. I'm not good at.
No, you're good. I didn't have much on today, so you're good. How'd your day been?
Great. Yeah, I kind of just woke up.
What time is it? Yeah, I was gonna
say.
It's
10 a.m. So I'm just getting started, and yeah, off to a good start, pretty much. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, nice morning chat. Where'd you say you're from?
I'm in Hamilton, Toronto, Ontario.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you get up to anything fun?
Today, not really. I've been sort of just been a bit unorganised today. Really, I haven't really had too many plans. Just been sort of jumping from one, doing a little bit of video editing on something, and then a bit of writing, but not really making too much progress. I don't think, but chipping away at little things today. But
yeah. What's your day to day like? Are you writing and filmmaking all the time, or is there are you balancing it with kind of a other job, or I don't know? What's your day to day?
Yeah, so I'm a freelance editor, video editor. So that's what I do most day to day. So in terms of boring job stuff, sort of editing random whatever pops up really. Sometimes it can be sort of editing music videos, other times editing more sort of commercial adverts, and in between that, I sort of just try and. I don't know, I've been working on my latest thing, Boy Ant, for such a long time that I haven't really. Now that I've finished that, I'm trying to sort of remember what my usual routine is, because my routine for the past year has basically just been doing my usual video editing, freelance stuff, and then writing the monologue Boy Ant thing. But now that's done, I'm sort of trying to remember what I feel like I have. In my spare time, more time now that that's done. So I'm trying to figure out, oh God, what do I do now? What do I feel this time? What do I do?
Yeah, after all that busyness, it's hard to accept that you can just do nothing for a minute.
Yeah. You make films yourself, you mentioned in the email.
Yeah. I just finished filming something and now I'm on to editing. So yeah. Do
you have that feeling when you finish something and sometimes it's a bit okay? So much of my focus has been on this thing now. I don't know what I do now. I feel like it's quite easy to move on too quickly as well without taking a moment. I'm trying to take a moment to be celebrate that I finished something rather than being oh shit. Where I feel like a part of me just wants to make something else, but I feel like I need to remind myself to just just enjoy the fact that you finished something rather than just thinking, oh God, you need to be productive, make something else.
Yeah. I feel like with the film I'm making now, it's my main goal with it was to write something that's fun to film, focusing on the process. And so I think it's been a good practice for just letting it happen. So that's been cool. But yeah, cool. And since you edit so much, I guess it's kind of ironic Boy Ant doesn't have a whole lot of editing. Mostly is it mostly one take, or did I miss a couple cuts, or?
No, there's no sneaky secret cuts. Wow. And it's all one take. Yeah, because when I first started, I thought I've always thought my biggest sort of my main strength is editing. So I wanted to see what was intrigued to see, like, could I make something if I took that away? Could I still tell a story? Because I feel like, for better and for worse, sometimes I feel like, I guess, when you're making something for a when people say, "Oh, we'll fix it in post," that sort of mindset, which I definitely like rely on a bit too much. Like, sometimes I film something that I feel like is a complete mess, and I don't think I would be able to give to another editor, because I don't think not because they're not talented themselves, just because I feel like I've mucked it up when I filmed it, that I then have to sort of, like a puzzle, work out what the hell I was actually trying to say. So for better and for worse, I think editing is a strength of mine, but also maybe I rely on it too much. I was like, I wanted to test whether I could tell a story with zero editing in that main monologue thing. Yeah.
And like, how many takes did that take you?
I think it was I did 6 takes. So I stayed in the Airbnb by the seaside for 3 days, and then I wanted to film sunrise and get a really nice sun. I filmed the take I went with was at 8 a.m, so it's kind of sunrisey-ish, but I really like the image of like the sort of sun backlighting me over the course. That my main intention going into it was like, I wanted that to be the cool like, it starts a bit dark, and over the course of the hour it gets brighter. It was so cloudy. It was too cloudy.
I know.
Every single day I woke up at like 6 a.m. for the sunrise. It was like, today there's got to be a bit of sun. It was so cloudy.
Oh man. Wow.
So yeah, I did 6 takes in total.
Right.
And then when I realized I was only going to, when it was so cloudy, I was like, I've just got to film take later in the day. I filmed one at sunset, and then I just was like, I just need to get as many options as possible, especially because I can't edit it, so I just need to get as many options as possible. So I ended up doing 6 takes over the 3 days, and then going with the one that I did.
Yeah. And do you like filming in public? Is it ever nerve-wracking to like? Is it just a one-person show too? Do you ever like? Is it ever a bit nerve-wracking to get into that, or?
Yeah, definitely. It can be equal parts, nerve-wracking and quite fun as well, because of the reactions you get. Like the thing I was just been, it's not really for anything. I've just been sort of looking through some old footage today and just randomly cutting about to see if just playing around with some footage today. And one of the clips I was editing, I was filming on another beach. I love filming on beaches. And as I was filming, some random man just came up to me, and in the background of the footage, you can hear him ask if I work for the government. I can't tell if he was joking or if maybe he was a bit of a paranoid guy. But I think it's mainly because I had this big prop that was like I'd made a big metal detector out of a broom. So it probably looked a bit suspicious. This guy was like, "Are you working for the government? What is this? Are you doing art? Is this art or government conspiracy?" I didn't know whether I should play along. I didn't know if he was joking or if he was genuinely. So you can get. I think it's quite fun though, because when people see a camera, I feel like there's a lot of conversations that strangers like feel more comfortable starting a conversation, because it's like, oh, this is for something. I feel like if you saw a random stranger just stood on the beach, you wouldn't go up to them and go, "Oh, what are you doing?" Because it's like they're just maybe in their own thoughts. Whereas I feel like if you like when I was filming quite a few of the takes. Before and after, people came up to me and were like, asked me what I was doing. There was a really nice lady who was walking her dog at one of the 6 a.m. takes. And she asked me what I was doing, and I said I was making a monologue about, and I had a lot of personal connections with the beach that I was filming it on. So I was telling her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, same. I grew up. I've spent my whole life here, just on this beach. So it's nice that you like this beach." I was like, it was a nice conversation. I don't think it would really happen unless the camera was there as like an excuse to be like, "Oh, I can talk to this person because they're talking themselves," I guess.
Yeah, that's sweet. And how much of Boy Ant was like scripted versus just riffing? Like, did you have more of an outline of points you wanted to hit, or was it like you knew the words you wanted to say?
I'd say it's probably about maybe like 90% memorized and scripted. I spent like a week beforehand just literally just doing nothing else. We just reading the script and memorizing it. There wasn't too much that I sort of improvised, mainly because I was cautious of like I don't know. You could say something that's nice and in the moment and fun, but equally you could maybe halfway through a take say something stupid or that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I stuck quite strictly to what I planned to say, mainly just because there was the sort of time limit of. And it was so cloudy, so I was like, if it was sunny, maybe I'd have emphasised. But I was like, the sun wasn't in my favour, so it was a bit of a time issue. So I did stick make about 90% to the script. Yeah.
Yeah, like the performance was felt really natural. Did you ever do any acting training or anything, or is it just something you've picked up for yourself?
Yeah, not. I mean, I've always liked drama and stuff. I haven't really done anything just outside of just school. Really enjoyed, doing the school shows and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But it is something I really like. I think I first probably got into YouTube because I was really enjoying drama as a hobby. And then I sort of saw YouTube as I could just talk to a camera. It's basically my own little stage. So I think 13-year-old Myles was excited by the prospect of I could put my own little shows in my bedroom.
Yeah. When you were a kid, did you ever film anything else? Because your YouTube goes all the way back to 2010. Was there anything you were recording as a kid that we didn't see or? Yeah.
Sorry, say that again. It glitched a little bit.
Oh yeah. Was there anything you recorded as a kid that was too bizarre to put on YouTube, but was fun? I don't know.
I don't think. I mean, there is a video somewhere out there of me fully clothed in a bath, just holding my breath underwater with a really stupid smile on my face, and that went straight up on the channel. So I don't think. I think if fully clothed, looking weirdly happy in a bath, if that's going up, I don't know what. I don't know what would be too weird if that's going up. There's a video of me ironing a banana. I ironed a banana. That's quite wacky. When you're 13, that's quite funny if you iron a banana. So yeah, no, I don't think there's anything where it's that's a bit too silly.
No limits.
I'm bathing in all my clothes and ironing bananas. So I think anything
goes. Yeah, that's really amazing. I feel when I was a kid, I didn't have that much. I guess I felt more cautious about posting stuff. That maybe my parents were more cautious. They were don't put anything on the internet or you're gonna die. So
sure. Yeah. I remember when I used to get my hair cut in our house. Our hairdresser when we were younger was talking about Facebook and how dangerous it was. And I bear in mind now, parents love Facebook. My parents are all over it. And I remember at the time, my mum, after my hairdresser left, was like, "Oh, you're not going on any of these sites." I was like, "No, it's fine, mum." It's just so interesting how now I feel parents, especially, are such big Facebook people. Whereas I remember, about 10 years ago, it was such I mean, it's still obviously can be a scary place, but it's just interesting how the perception of speaking online has flipped, and from a parent's point of view, has become more of a safe place, which is I feel like young people are less on Facebook now.
Yeah, and did they ever know? In 2010, did your parents know you were posting stuff to YouTube, or was it
I think so, yeah, and I think they were a bit apprehensive.
Yeah,
because I did have a YouTube channel before my one that I have still at the minute, and it's my current YouTube channel is called It's Me Myles. The one before that was called It's Amy and Myles. So there was another one where I had two A's, which is already quite a tricky thing to pronounce. I feel if you don't get them, it's meant to be a Mario reference. It's already a bit what are these letters? So I'm kind of glad that. I had that YouTube channel. My parents weren't best pleased, so I deleted that, and then I think a few months later, sneakily created another one.
Sneaky, nice.
Rebellious 13-year-old. You got to create a YouTube channel to rebel against your parents.
Yeah, really amazing. Are your growing up? Are your parents creative people? How did you get into all these creative things like music and writing and filmmaking? Was it something you picked up for yourself? Or?
Yeah, I don't think my parents are not creative people. My mum does a lot of singing and stuff. I think when my dad was my age, he did a lot of theatre stuff, but I wouldn't say it was maybe. I mean, I think it was. They were quite a creatively accepting household. They liked a lot of theatre stuff themselves, but I think it was probably I know me and my brother, we both bonded over like art and video games and stuff and growing up. So I think we both sort of just found another sort of home in the internet, and we had in the days of like dial-up internet, we used to like save Sonic sprites, like pixel art. We used to like all these pixel art Sonic websites where like people showed you how to make your own Sonic characters in pixel art. So in the days where we had dial-up internet, where it like cost per minute or however long you spent, we always used to save all these websites offline, so then we could just like study these Sonic art websites.
Whoa.
So I'd say me and my brother sort of mainly bonded over the creative stuff growing up.
Yeah, that's cool. What
did
holds
you
you?
Did you have dial-up internet when you were younger? Or I'm not sure how old you are, but
I think we're the same age, but no, okay. I don't think I started using my parents' computer. Maybe I was like 9 or something. And I got into, there was this website I remember called like Stretchy Faces, and they'd have like pictures of us. Yeah. They'd have like pictures of celebrities, and you would just click around and drag their faces around. It was like the most entertaining thing in the world. Yeah.
Websites like that. I remember did you ever go on the Impossible quiz? I remember that was a really popular thing over here.
Yeah, that was impossible.
As the title would suggest. I remember actually in computer lessons in school, my teacher banned everyone from playing that because young 13-year-old kids were obsessed with just stretching faces or doing impossible quizzes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, feels much different now. We just needed one gimmick, and we were set for the day.
Stretching some faces will be fine. We'll be happy for hours.
I'm happy. Yeah. Let's see. Speaking of your brother, did the Stupid Boys Association, is that right? Am I getting that right? The DBA. Yes. Did they have a dogma? Like, did you guys follow any principles or maybe unspoken principles?
I think the main sort of slogan was, have fun and bring down the government. Probably the main two slogans. I think we actually did have pass. We used to spend a lot of time just underneath my bed, which is where the DBA was founded. And my brother designed like proper passes. I say proper passes.
Proper.
He designed passes, and then like to get into the secret base under my bed, we had to like slot them in, like we were clocking into work.
Right.
And we couldn't get into the secret base unless we did that. So it was a very formal organisation. Yeah.
Very secure, very underground. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You couldn't get in if you didn't have one of those passes.
Yeah.
And also because it was a very small space, so you probably couldn't get in. It's tricky to fit.
Yeah, pretty tricky. If you had to write a dogma for yourself, your own set of principles now, what would be a couple things on there? Would it be the same as DBA? Do they stand the test of time?
As like a life thing that I would follow? Or
what's your mantras right now?
What's my mantras now? I don't really know. Just get through the day.
That's solid.
I don't know. In terms of, I guess I probably have more of a mantra for like the stuff I make rather than me personally, I guess, which I guess also is me personally, but I don't know, just keeping like an eye out. that sounds like a paranoid, or like keep an eye out, keep an eye out, kid. The world's a dangerous place. No, I mean, like, I would stay observant, I guess, or try and notice things. Because like in terms of the stuff I make, I guess I like to have little observations of stuff I've noticed, especially if I'm filming it. If I've like collected B-roll over a long period of time, it's important for me to like stay aware of the world around me, and that anything can sort of be important, however stupid or mundane it could appear upon initial watch. It could, if you're filming, like anything can be important, I guess. I'd say is my long rambling answer. If I had a message, yeah.
Nice.
Anything can be important.
Yeah, and like, yeah, because with all this footage that you get, a lot of the time you end up like braiding these ideas together, whether you like maybe a piece of footage like ties into some kind of narrative, like, yeah, what draws you to doing those sorts of things? I guess just like anything can be important, but yeah, what do you think draws you to doing that, I guess?
I think I always used to like doing like scrapbooks as a kid, like just like overlaying loads of different images or like cutouts, mainly from like Doctor Who magazines. I'd often make a lot of like Doctor Who scrapbooks. So I kind of like the idea of that if you cut out all these little parts from loads of different magazines, you could like, I don't know, the Doctor Who scrapbook I had, I'd like have a whole page. It was a whole series of Doctor Who pictures, but in one piece of paper, which I quite like. Yeah, it felt quite cool to be like this whole series, like this whole 10 hours of TVs, and like I can look at this piece of paper and it sort of contains that whole experience in one sort of scrapbook thing. Not that I think I was thinking of that when I was like 10 doing it. Like I'm containing the whole series in one piece of paper, guys. I'm thinking outside the box. No, but I think looking back, yeah, I think that thought process maybe is carried along to like when I'm trying to film lots of stuff out in the world, and then when I'm editing it to try and have like, I like stuff that's dense and quite like maybe also out of insecurity. I feel like people like turn away if there's not a lot of stuff happening, if there's not like quick cuts or footage. But yeah, I'm a fan of stuff that's quite like dense and maximalist, I guess.
Yeah. Was it like, did it feel weird with Boy Ant then like having it just be the one take? Was it, or did it almost feel like Boy Ant was more of a writing project than a film project? I don't know.
Yeah, it did feel weird because it's basically the complete opposite of what I just said. That it's not. I guess it's still dense in terms of like, there's lots of words, but you know, in terms of like there's no B-roll to support my points. Like usually I'd like to have a bit of like fun B-roll underneath what I'm saying, or some music, or you know. So yeah, I think it played more into the idea of like I'm talking about or telling like a bit of a vulnerable story. So I felt like I wanted to. I like the idea of not having any music for an hour or any other images, and I hoped that maybe it would have like, I don't know, it would draw people in gradually over the hour. My hope was that people would maybe clock that, hang on, it's not cutting away, or if people have seen previous videos of mine, they might like, yeah, quite a few people who've like seen stuff of mine before have like commented. It was like, oh yeah, it took me like 10 minutes to realize that there wasn't any cuts, and I was like, what's happening? I guess because I usually do a lot of like jump cuts, like, you know, as old vloggers do. But yeah, I kind of wanted to do something completely different and see if I could still do that. Really,
yeah. I think it fit the narrative really well with like the somberness of it, just keeping it still in one take. Yeah, I love one take movies. Are there any one take movies that you know that were kind of inspirational at all, or?
Not really in terms of movies, but a lot of like theatre stuff, like a lot of other monologues that I've seen on stage. I really like there's a play called Constellations, which is about a couple meeting over and over again throughout like the parallel universes, and it's just two people on stage throughout the whole thing, but every time like the lights above them flash, it like signifies a new universe.
Wow.
Which is basically just two characters playing hundreds and hundreds of different characters every time the lights flash. I remember stumbling across that when I was in school, and like I didn't get to read it, but I just remember the opening line of that was like, every time the lights flash and the universe starts. I was like, as a stage direction, I was like, that's so fucking cool. And it came to London, where I'm from, or not from, but where I live now. It came to London last year, so I finally got to see it after like being obsessed with the idea of this play for so long. I finally got to see it. So yeah, I think I was probably inspired by just a lot of theatre and one people shows, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you ever do a live show of Boy Ant? Or do you think you'd keep it in
I'm not
film?
sure. I've done a few open mics, and I've like done condensed versions of it. When I was writing it, I did a few open mics just to see if any of the jokes worked or if they didn't. And I did one the other night as well, just as I just wanted to. I hadn't done one in a while, so I did a little 10-minute condensed version at an open mic, which went well. But in terms of doing the full version, I'm not sure. But I definitely have the intention to at Edinburgh Fringe, which is like a big arts festival in Scotland every year. Next year, I want to go in person because obviously the Boy Out's playing online at the minute, which was my sort of wanted to dip my toes into the waters of the Edinburgh Fringe and sort of learn a bit about it. But next year, my plan is to hopefully take up a new show and do it in person. Yeah.
That's cool. And with Boy Ant too, like, how much of it is like a fiction versus like more of a documentary? Like, is it entirely true, or is it some of it fiction? Yeah, I don't know the balance there.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to making stuff, for a while I sort of battled with the idea of like when you're filming life, how much of it should be true, or what even is true if you're filming it. So I feel like as soon as you film something, it becomes filmed life, not actually life.
Yeah.
And I feel like as soon as I realized I could let go of the idea of like, as soon as I let go of the idea of trying to capture 100% the truth of something and realize I would never be able to do that, I could then finally sort of try and go after the feeling of the truth more than the actual facts. So I'm more interested in sort of when you're making something to like follow like a emotional sort of timeline of something rather than getting bogged down in like what happened, because a lot of the time what happened isn't how it felt, I think. So in terms of like Boy Ant, there's some anecdotes that did happen, but maybe not within that time period, but felt relevant to explore a certain feeling. That I feel like some people, if some people, that you could feel maybe disappointed in hearing like, oh, maybe some bits didn't happen exactly how they did. But in terms of like the feeling that I feel like I was trying to explore, there's a lot of stuff that, why wouldn't it go there? Because it matches up perfectly with the feeling I was trying to work out. I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling, but I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that does. Yeah, it sounds like a really freeing, like, philosophy to have when you're trying to make something that's like based on personal experiences and yeah. You're
never going to. I think in university when I was studying a lot of like autobiographical filmmakers, that's when I first sort of got obsessed with like. I didn't really realize autobiographical documentaries were a thing until like university. I was like, oh shit, this is like the stuff I've been trying to do, but I didn't realize that it was like a thing and like called autobiographical filmmaking. And a lot of I think as soon as I was getting annoyed with the idea that I can 100% capture how something felt. But as I said, as soon as I sort of was like, well, you don't have to, because you're never going to capture it 100%, because life is life and films are films. So as soon as you just try and stick to the truth of the feeling, then I think you can get closer to it, I guess. Which is why it's sort of like abstract art is sort of kind of that. It's not really, I don't know if you could say that abstract art is truthful, but it's like you look at it and you feel something. But there's no facts really in abstract art, is there? But you look at it and you can feel something. And I feel like that's sort of like, that's still true in art, an arty way. I don't know.
Yeah, expressing, getting the feeling across. Yeah, that's a hard job too, getting a feeling across, especially when you're trying to communicate to other people. Yeah. Do you ever, I guess with testing it at open mics, was that a good way for you to like confirm that like, is the feeling coming across? Like, how do you confirm that like what I've just written makes sense to other people? Or do you just kind of hope? Yeah.
A lot of it's hoping, yeah. No, I think the open mics, it was mainly just seeing if like jokes transitioned into anecdotes that weren't maybe that funny, but like just to see if I could feel that if people were still listening, or whether like if it felt confusing anyway. So it was mainly to see if like it was mainly just to sort of say it out loud and to see if people responded, even if they weren't laughing. It just if it felt like it made sense by saying it out loud, I guess. That's why I sort of did it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Like, you seem like quite a busy person with all these creative pursuits. Is there anything that like you haven't tried yet that, like, if you were in a different universe, maybe you would be spending more of your time with? Like, is there anything you haven't tried that just doesn't fit that you're interested in?
Yeah.
I don't know how to ask that question.
No, that made sense.
Okay,
yeah, I don't know. I think honestly, I would just like to focus more on making videos, because it's a good perception of, like, if you said I seem like a busy person, because I feel like I'm not. I want to be more productive. Like, I don't know. I feel like I spend too much. I think personally, I spend too much time working on one thing over a too long a period of time, and I would prefer to, rather than spend more time doing something I haven't tried yet, commit more to making stuff more regularly. Right. So I think, like, I made like a feature film documentary vlog thing called Like a Double Boat, You Tether It, a few years ago. And that was like, I spent 2 years working on that. And then I've sort of spent another year and a half working on Boyan. I was like, damn, it's quite a lot of time that adds up. And then we've only made 2 things. And like, I'm proud of both those things, but I was like, I wonder, I'd be intrigued to see like how much more I could know myself if I'd maybe made, shorter things more regularly. Because I think a lot of people say, it's quality over quantity. Is that the right phrase? But I feel like even if you do, which is true, I guess, but also I feel like quantity, I feel like you could learn.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more like a return of investment in terms of like your personal progress with you can more quickly assess whether this thing was good, or was it what you wanted to say, how does it reflect you? If you're making bad, worse things, but every week, I feel like creatively you can actually learn more about yourself rather than sort of going into hiding for like 2 years. And so I guess, I would, rather than just focus on something else, just commit more and try and just be more consistent, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Like with filmmaking, sometimes, I don't know, I'll be making a project and maybe it's not like maybe it's a more casual project and someone will ask what it's for, and I'm just like, I don't even know if I can answer that. But because I feel like it's like, sometimes it feels like maybe people think there needs to be a huge purpose to what you're filming sometimes, but sometimes it's just like sketching. Like, I feel like there's not a lot of like space for filmmakers to just be sketching. Like, and I think that's so necessary for like figuring out what you're even trying to film. And
work, and someone's asking what something's for. It's always going to launch you into existential crisis. It's for me, I guess. But I don't really know. Yeah. Although that is a great way of getting, if you're ever filming in public and someone asks what you're filming, and like in terms of like a security reason, like if they're big scary people who are like, what are you filming? You can't film around here, because they work for the private property you're filming on. I've always managed to get away with continuing filming by just saying it's for me.
Oh
yeah. You can't really argue. They're like, oh yeah, but is it going to go on YouTube? I'm like, I mean, it's not the main intention behind it. Like, maybe, but at the minute it's just for me. Yeah. Okay, but is it going to go somewhere? No, it's just going to stay on my laptop. Probably it's for me. All right. Okay, we'll carry on. There's many times where I've just got out of getting in trouble by just saying it's for me. So. Yeah,
I like that. That reminds me of, I don't know. There's this whole, I don't know how to explain it, but just
you can't say that.
There's like this woman who talks a lot about like the law of attraction and how people will ask you what you're doing, and it's like just a good enough reason to be like, oh, it's just like for pleasure and to have fun. And they're like, okay, but like, what's your main goal? It's like just having fun. That's very freeing, and it's totally enough of a reason to do anything.
Having fun is just as important as just whether it's for a film festival or for success or whatever. Having fun and just making it for the sake of making it is just as important.
I'm into the law of attraction, all those cool things. Like, do you have any philosophical things that you're drawn towards that help you in your life?
not in terms of like, I don't really have any like, probably not any technical philosophies that have Wikipedia pages.
Yeah.
I don't really know. There is something I can't. I don't know the name of it, which isn't very helpful. I could probably find out the name of it. But there's like a religion that's like, oh yeah, I guess this is my philosophy actually. The coincidence. I think like coincidence is like, I'm not a particularly like religious person, but if I had a god, I think it would be coincidence, and like seeing value in like accidents, because I think like not seeing value in accidents like bad things. That's like a psychopath. No, like accidents, like just little moments and connecting, like finding coincidence through life is like a way that I find meaning through a lot of videos I make, and like a lot of like B-roll that might match up, because I think editing is coincidence a lot of the time. Like a good cut, however much the director's intended something, an editor can find like a nice little bit where an actor's eye line maybe said something different, and it might not match up with the next shot, but you can find those coincidences, and suddenly there's meaning between those two shots. So I think, I guess it goes back to that, just being open and being aware of the world, and anything can be important, because any just coincidence or seemingly mundane, pointless thing could be useful and could tell you something about the world, or something else.
Yeah.
I like coincidence.
Yeah, reading between the lines.
Yeah.
If you died today, what's something you haven't done yet that you'd be pissed that you missed the opportunity on?
I don't know. What's your answer?
Oh man, I guess. Yeah. Well, I've been eager to like travel across the ocean on my own and just see what happens. Like, that's just cool. Throw myself into the world. Because I mean, with COVID, I got stuck living with my parents for a while, and now it's like kind of over, not really. And I'm like, I guess I should get back into life. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's good.
No, but I don't know if it is though.
Oh no.
Because also not having one, doesn't that also feel like slightly directionless? Or like...
Yeah, maybe. But then again, I don't know, having no direction is kind of freeing. It's like the whole thing of like nature is always doing, but everything is always done kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it would just be more, I guess I'd maybe just be annoyed that I haven't, it's going back to like the consistency thing. Maybe I'll just be annoyed that I didn't stay as consistent with the things that I like doing as much, maybe, rather than something else. Yeah.
That's fair.
Is that okay? Is that
yeah, that's good. Yeah. What consistency? Yeah, it's hard to stay consistent with anything, and especially with creative things. It's like you always feel like you need to wait till you're in that creative headspace and stuff. Like, what do you think keeps you from consistency?
I think it's the classic bit of fear, the old fear. I think, overthinking it, and I think part of the reason, I often sink a lot of time into like bigger projects like Boyan or like a double boat tether it, is probably because like things I feel like get out of my control, and then like both Boyan and my featured documentary vlog thing, like a double boat tether it, too long of a title to say in casual conversation. They both started off as much smaller ideas, like, and then they sort of just escalate. I often doubt the idea, and like, it's not like, there's not much meat there if it's just a smaller couple of minutes thing, or like, and then I feel like the more life passes, the more I want to understand that life, and then it sort of gets internalized into the video project. And like, the more life happens, the more I want to sort of capture it and understand it in this current thing. Whereas really, I should just break it down, and like people do, and make, smaller things to process it as it happens.
Yeah.
But
or both.
Otherwise, I think there's probably a balance there. But yeah, I feel like otherwise, like 2 years goes by and I'm still mentally, well, not mentally, but like creatively 2 years younger than I am because I've only just finished processing life from 2 years ago. So it's now like, and then I feel like I get struck with that sort of like, okay, I'm playing catch up now creatively because I'm like, so yeah. What's the question again?
I don't remember, but something about
went off on an existential despair.
I don't remember. Oh yeah, the whole if you died today, something happened after that.
Oh yeah. The dying one. Yeah.
What do you hope happens when we die? Where do you expect to go in an afterlife, or maybe you expect to come back?
I expect to come back. Yeah, I'll be back. Don't worry about it. I'll be back.
I'll be back.
I mean, I feel like I should. I did look at the questions you sent last night, and I did think I should think of answers, but then I was like, I feel like I'd overthink it, so I should just think I think of an answer in a moment. But for this one, I don't know.
You don't know.
There's obviously the very depressing, realistic answer, or realistic answer from my point of view of nothing. But I don't know if that's you read that in print, and that's maybe not. That's not that fun, is it? Like, oh, don't want to check out this guy's film. Nothing happens. I think actually no. Yeah, what happens? This is it. This is the answer. Okay. What happens is you sort of die, but it's quite nice. It's like and then you wake up actually, and you're like, did I die? And there's a sort of like a rabbit. There's a rabbit that's sort of reads you poems, and you can get on the rabbit's back because the rabbit's really big, and sort of just go around sort of a white void, but for like copyright reasons, it's not referred to as heaven. Yeah. And it's you sort of just run around, and the rabbit tells you facts about things. And like maybe gives you snacks, which is quite like it puts like snacks in your mouth, and it's like it feeds you. It doesn't let you feed. It doesn't let you take the food. The rabbit puts food in. And it sort of just goes on like that, I think, until maybe you go to sleep, and then you wake up and it's a different animal.
Oh.
Like a badger or something that feeds you. And I think that's what happens actually. Yeah.
I think that's a solid inquiry. I think people should study that. I think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the Easter Bunny, by the way.
No.
It's a different rabbit.
Yeah. It's mostly for copyright reasons, but also just the Easter Bunny doesn't have the right vibrations. It's not.
And the Easter Bunny's still technically working.
Yeah, it's a little too commercial. But
yeah. But what do you think happens when we die?
Yeah.
Me specifically, not we as the collective.
Yeah, I think that's like pretty close to what I was actually thinking, but
no.
Yeah, but I think reincarnation would be really cool, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, that would be very cool. I'll definitely up
for it. Yeah. So I'm kind of crossing my fingers for that, but I don't know.
I wouldn't say no.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, I guess you filmed Buoyant on that beach, and you were saying that was like a good I don't know how to say it. It was like important in your life. Like, are there any other places in nature where you had like a really nice quiet moment that was maybe an inspiring moment? Yeah, what other places have like struck you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in Nara in Japan, where my brother lives, went there a few years ago before the pandemic, and it's a place where there's the amount of pigeons that there are in London, which is a lot. They have deers, like there's deers everywhere, as if they're just like pigeons. And there's like me and my brother climbed up this sort of big mountain thing. It wasn't quite a mountain, a hill maybe. And at the top you could see there was loads of deers even at the top of this really big mountain, and it was yeah, it was really, really lovely. Very, very calm. There was a couple getting their wedding photographs taken, and it was literally just them and the photographer, a load of deers, and then nothing but grass and the view of Kyoto stretched out in front of us. And it was just very, very, very calm. Me and my brother had some biscuits in our pocket, which you can feed the deer. They're like special deer biscuits. So it was very nice. Yeah. And then me and my brother on the way, it's like very empty as well. Like at the top of this like hill that we were at, and so there was like literally no one apart from just this couple and all the deers. And on the way back down, me and my brother saw two deers looking directly at us, and we joked that it was us reincarnated as deers, because there was one small one and one big one, like me and my big bro, and we gave them our last biscuits, and then went on our way. So that was a very nice moment.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I think that is proof of reincarnation. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did really in the moment that they did look very much like us in their the way that they were stood there hungry for biscuits.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a really awesome moment. Now I want to go to Japan.
It was very nice. What about you? You got a favorite nature place?
Yeah, I think so. I have some family, like fourth cousins in Iceland, and yeah, we used to go a little more often. But yeah, there was one time we were staying at this like Airbnb that was like on the ocean, and they kind of had a farm going too. They had some like horses and stuff, and they had like a farm dog, and just being there and like stepping out into like the little parking lot of this Airbnb. They also, the Airbnb had like these little like toy beds, and they just had like these stuffed rats in it. For some reason, I liked that too. Like they were really setting the
like cuddly toys or real rats.
They were hardly cuddly too. It was mostly like, it was like a really nice little joke of like, there's rats in the apartment, but they're just like all snuggled up in this tiny bed. That was. But
were they real? Were they previously alive? That were stuffed?
No, or no, like toys. Okay. But yeah, I think I would be a little bit more put off if it was real. But yeah.
Yeah, I was scared for a minute.
Yeah.
That's terrifying if they were real rats. Soft toys is better. That's nice.
Yeah, but then like outside, it was like on one end it was like this cliff, and there was this waterfall, and then when you look the other way, it's just like the ocean, and it just felt like I was like in a little peaceful orb instead of like the rest of the world.
Yeah.
That
sounds great.
Yeah, that's good.
Very nice.
But yeah. What artists do you like to copy, if any? Like, what artists do you find a lot of inspiration from?
I'm a big fan. I feel like it's I get a lot of inspiration from a lot of other, not necessarily like filmmakers. Like there's a lot of comedians that I really, really get inspired by. Like so bad at remembering things about myself. Like what do I want to say? I can't think of anything. Like in terms of there's a poet. Two of my favorite poets are called Billy Collins and Carolyn Bird. They both do really very quite conversational poems, but often have like one surreal element in it that is explored in a very normal way, or a very normal thing explored in a very surreal way, often with a lot of humour. So I really like those two big inspirations. And then there's comedian siblings called Jamie Demetriou and Natasha Demetriou. They've got a TV show over in England called Staff Lets Flats. I'm not sure if that's reached Canada yet. It's really good. And they use language in a really funny way where their whole comedy is based. They have a way of just making every sentence funny, not because they're necessarily telling a joke, but just because of the way that they put into intonation changes on certain words that you weren't expecting, or they get an idiom wrong, or I really like those two.
Mm-hmm. What are their names again?
Jamie and Natasha Dimitriou.
Cool. Yeah.
They've got a lot of stuff on YouTube, and they're so funny. They're so funny.
I gotta look that up. That sounds cool. Yeah, and like with the previous artists you mentioned, like this conversational and like normal way of like presenting, like writing and dialogue. Like what draws you to? Because your films are very like handmade and kind of normalness. What draws you to the like kind of everyday mode of making things?
Yeah, I really like stuff that's just very conversational. I think because like to me, I feel like poetry in real life is often like accidental stuff that we kind of just glimpse at the corner of our eye, just like, I don't know, the way light falls and we look at it and goes, oh, that's really lovely. Whereas I feel like I'm less of a fan of stuff that or certain types of poetry that can feel quite rehearsed or with like their intentions quite obvious. I don't know, I quite like art like that's feels like it's just sort of fallen out for you, and you can do what you want with it rather than being like very aware of what it's trying to say. I don't know. I think I quite like stuff that's very conversational because it tries to sort of capture, I think, what sort of poetry in the wild feels like, which is just sort of accidentally just noticing things. And
That's cool. Do you have like a top 3 favorite films right now? I know that's a taboo question.
Yeah, favorites is tricky, isn't it? I've always had, well, not always, but yeah, for a long time I've had 2 favorite films, but I've never been able to add a third one. Like I can confidently say I have 2 favorite films, and then a load of other films that I really love around it. I've never managed to get a third favorite. I think because the 2 favorite films really changed my life, so I feel like favorite, and I've put it on quite a pedestal. So like, there's so many other obviously really great films that I really love and I'm connected with. I'm like, well, I don't know if it like the 2 films that are my favorite. I feel like really bookmark certain parts of my life really well, and that's a film called Synecdoche, New York, directed and written by Charlie Kaufman, and Once, written and directed by John Carney, which is a musical. And they're both very, very different. And I'm not sure, have you seen either of those?
I've seen can never pronounce the first word, New York.
Synecdoche, yes. Yeah. What did you think of it?
It was a while ago, but I liked how it was a bit bizarre.
It was a while ago. It's a weird film, yeah.
Yeah, I like a weird film. Because isn't it? It's one of those films that like kind of creates like a different universe inside, like kind of a, like what's that? I'm forgetting names of things, but like kind of creates a little universe bubble, and that's where its bizarreness is. Am I remembering it right?
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, it's got a lot of surreal elements in it, and it kind of draws a straight. What's the phrase? Strays the line, walks the line between being very normal and being very surreal.
Yeah.
Like there's a scene where a lady is like showing someone around her house and it's on fire and it's not addressed in any way.
Yeah, I love that.
Which I really like. But yeah, it's about a guy who gets given a grant to write a play, and then the more life passes, the more the play gets out of hand, the more life he wants to try and capture. So it starts off just being about like he wants to make a play about a year, and then it's about a decade, and then he realizes he spent 50 years working on this play, and like his family have left him, and because he's just I think I either saw it at a really good time in my life or the worst time in my life, not in terms of where I was, but like I saw it when I was like 18, I think, right before I went off to university, and I think it was quite a scary portrayal of creativity, or where it can take you if you maybe are indecisive.
Yeah.
But I love that film for I think it's really beautiful and very weirdly, it's got some really lovely lines in there.
Yeah.
It feels quite romantic, even though it's quite disturbing.
Yeah.
There are some really nice moments between like characters, but they can't really tell if they're like connecting with each other because they're playing actors and whether they're because they're playing roles in this big play or whether it's actually them as real people, which I really like.
Yeah.
But on the complete opposite of that, yeah, Once, it's a musical, really lo-fi, one of those films that people talk about because it's like, oh yeah, it only costs like a couple of £1,000 and it earned like so much money. It's literally just, yeah, a lot of guerrilla style filmmaking where it's just, they didn't really have permissions, they just shot on high streets. It's about a busker who strikes up a friendship slash maybe a relationship with just a lady who stops to listen to him on the street. And she's also a really talented musician, and they form a band and work on music together. And it's it's kind of the complete opposite of, I feel like creative wise, I feel like I can see both myself in both of those films because like I want to be somewhere in the middle because where it's not too complicated and it ruins your whole life because it takes hundreds of years to make something, but also one that's really just simple, it's shot with just a really cheap basic camera, but the story is really beautiful and simple. And also I think it was a good example of, I went into that film with I didn't know anything about it. I think I and just judging from the title, I think I didn't think I'd like it. So I thought it was going to be, again, I think I watched it when I was like 18. I think I was a bit edgy with my opinion, being like, oh, it's going to be some boring romantic film. And then like I was like crying like throughout the whole thing. So I think it's nice to have those moments where you have been a bit judgmental, just so you can remind yourself later when you feel that again to be like, no, this could change your life like it did that first time you were feeling a bit judgmental. So
yeah, I feel like 18 is such an important age to watch like every psychological movie ever. It's good.
Yeah, I really recommend Once though.
It's, I want to watch that.
It's very feel good and lovely, and the music's really catchy.
Nice.
What are your two favourites? Or three, if you have a third favourite.
Oh gosh, yeah. I need to like rewatch them honestly, but I'm not good at remembering plots. But you know, you remember the feeling, you know.
Yes.
And so exactly. I guess like one that like impacted me, but isn't necessarily a good film, but it might be. It's an okay film. It gets there. But Kill Your Darlings was like.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched that.
It's good. Like, and it was one of the first movies after Harry Potter that I saw Daniel Radcliffe in. So I was like,
his hair looks great in that.
Looks so good.
It's great. I remember everyone being like, his hair looks more like Harry Potter in this film after Harry Potter than it ever did in Harry Potter.
It was good.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, and it was about these like university students like kind of breaking the mold, and it was like right before I was about to go to university, and I was like, let's do this thing, and so it was good. Yeah, and then there's like a pigeon sat on a branch and yeah, that one's good. Like kind of like the elephant in the room vibe, but nobody addresses it. I like that.
Yes. Yeah. I've got You the Living on my shelf that I still haven't. Another film directed by that guy. I can't remember who directed that.
Something.
But yeah, it's got a great style. Really cool.
That stuff's good. Let's see. Oh yeah, what instruments do you play, and like, do you have any memories from your childhood about like how music became important to you?
I play guitar and ukulele, and I remember the first day I got my guitar for Christmas a long time ago, and I remember I took it around my nan and granddad's house to show them, and I tripped up the stairs and fell flat with the guitar, and I was scared it had broken, but luckily it just was very out of tune. That was the first outing with my guitar. Proudly tried to show my grandparents, and I tripped up the stairs.
Oh man!
But yeah, I've been playing guitar for a while, I enjoy it. I've never really. It's probably the creative thing that I've spent the least amount of time. Sometimes it's the thing that I have the most fun doing.
Right.
Because it's the thing I've least considered, like taking seriously. However you want to define that. In terms of like, I've never had aspirations of really making it a job or making money from it or whatever. So I feel like it's the one thing that I feel like when I'm recording like a short 1 minute song on my laptop, it's like it feels not that making videos doesn't feel like this, but there's less. I'm rarely conflicted when recording music.
Yeah.
It's anything but a hobby and a nice way to spend some time, and it can often feel the best as well. Because like when I'm making something, as much as I love having a finished film, it can often be quite a stressful experience or annoying, or when it doesn't quite match up. I'm sure when you're making something, when it's like you're chasing something, but you're not sure if you're quite there yet. Whereas with music, I don't really ever have that care or concern, because it's like, so I think it's nice to have another creative thing underneath video making that I don't always, I rarely sort of stress about. It's just sort of freeing, like I guess a hobby, and creative stuff should be, I guess.
Yeah, I have the same experience with music in that way. And with a film, you got to like write everything, and so many different steps. But it's nice, you can just kind of punch out a song in one night, and it feels so. It's like you get to write, and then you get to like yell your words, and it feels good.
Exactly, yeah, it feels so nice when you're just playing loudly and stuff as well. It's nice.
Yeah, and with writing, like I just found your poetry on your Instagram. I guess I was mostly watching your YouTube before, but I just found all this poetry that I get to read, so that's cool. Like, would you ever publish a book?
I think so, yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that about the poetry, because I feel like in the last few years, similar to music, it's something that I've always sort of enjoyed poetry, but it's only in the last few years that I've started doing more of it. And whereas I think if someone just watches my YouTube videos now and again, I don't think they would, would see that my latest sort of inspiration from poetry. So, which is why I think Buoyant, I feel like is you can kind of see maybe a crossroads between my interest in poetry and the video making side of it, because I've tried to I've always enjoyed writing and trying, and the odd bit of poetry that you've thrown in now and again, even if it's not like what you think a poem would be. Like, I've never actually sort of just read a poem straight in a video, but the odd poet, trying to throw out an odd poetic line here and there. But I went into making Buoyant being like, what if I was more sincere with the my poetic aspirations, and I allowed myself one sincere moment, or not one sincere moment, because I think the whole thing has a sincerity to it, but a moment where I would allow myself to have a bit of poetry that I intentionally was like, I didn't feel self-conscious of saying like, oh, there's a bit of poetry in it. Because there's a few bits here and there where you could be like, sound a bit poetic, but it's maybe delivered in maybe there's a joke that undercuts it or whatever, but there's a bit at the end where I'm talking about, well, not at the end, but like I'm talking about silence and different types of silence and stuff.
Right.
I just list off different types of silence.
Yeah, I liked that. That was good.
And thanks. And I was conflicted whether it sounded a bit too spoken wordy or a bit too rehearsed, but I sort of allowed myself, not that it's a weird thing to feel like, it's my thing. I put as much poetry stuff in it, but I was like, I think because I was sticking to wanting it to feel natural and conversational, but I was like, I allowed myself to have one bit of thing in it that felt more poetic than, or more obviously poetic than the other bits that were maybe a bit more, I tried to disguise a bit more as part of a off the top of the head conversation thing.
Yeah, I think that part was really nice for like the pacing. It kind of, I guess I felt like it brought me back into it more, just because those kind of like, the different kinds of silences, they hit home. It was good.
Cool. That's good. Yeah.
And finally, any like recommendations for our listeners and readers and stuff, media ideas, etc., anything you want the world to know?
I just finished reading a book by a comedian called Katie Wicks, who's quite popular in the UK, and I hope around the world, because she's really good. And she released, I think I finished it a few months ago, but it was really I think it was quite a life-changing book called Delicacy, about her sort of relationship with parents who aren't well, and also focuses a lot on her relationship with like her body image and stuff. And it's so good. And she's so, since it's sort of going off the previous point, there's so many bits where she weaves so many lovely poetic bits into it, and it never really feels forced or it just feels so natural. It fits so well with like the autobiographical, factual stuff that she's listing about her life, and then like it's so nicely tied together. It's got quite a nice surreal element to it. Like each chapter is a cake, because she talks a lot about her relationship with food and stuff. So each chapter is sort of, it feels almost a bit Charlie Kaufman-y in terms of like throughout her whole life, these cakes are always spotted in the corner of her eye. So like these big life moments are bullet pointed by different types of cake. Yeah, I love it. I'd recommend people. It's a bit of a heavy book, so maybe make sure in a good headspace for it. But it's I really loved everything about that book.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I like when people compartmentalize their life and like come up with chapters for their life and stuff. I think that's such a good like personal exercise too. It's like, how do you define the chapters of your life? That's so cool.
Yeah. And apart from that, I can't really think about. I'm not sure what else I've been watching.
Favorite song?
Favorite song ever, or like recently that I've been listening to?
Maybe recently.
God, I'm so bad with remembering stuff.
Yeah, I'm not good.
This is why I make stuff as well, because I'm not the best at either remembering stuff in the moment or speaking off the top of my head. I've been revisiting. It's not probably a new song, but I've been revisiting Francis and the Lights. There's a guy, he does a lot of cool music. He's got a song called Like a Dream, which is really cool. And the music video is really simple. It's just him dancing through a field in one take. Which I love that. Love.
I love one take dancing music video.
Check it out. It's called Like a Dream. And the dance is so like addictive as well. He's just sort of hopping but moving forward on a straight line.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
That's good. Yeah.
And that's about it really. Biffy Clyro I really like. Been re-listening to Biffy Clyro, who are a Scottish band who make really cool like rock music.
Biffy Clyro?
Biffy Clyro, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you not heard of them?
I've not heard of it yet.
Yeah. That's good though, because you got a lot. What sort of music do you like?
What sort of music do I like? Oh man, I listen to some jazz. I'm getting more into Irish folk. I'm excited. I'm going to go to an Irish folk night.
You have to check Once Out then. It's an Irish film and it's full of it's amazing.
Great. Yeah.
That's a sign that you need to check it out, that if you've been getting into Irish folk.
Oh, so excited.
Once is they're Irish buskers. It's lovely. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, that sounds like my kind of movie. I'm gonna go watch that right now.
Yeah, I think it's on one of the. I hope it's on one of the streaming
somewhere.
services.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, if you watch it, let me know what you think, because
I
think to know what someone who's seen it for the first time thinks.
I'm excited to have fresh eyes and ears on these things. That'll be fun.
It's great as well, like as a filmmaker yourself as well, because it's so DIY. It never really feels cheap. However much you can tell, they're sort of just shooting it a bit on the fly. It never feels like there's not a lot of intention behind it. It's lovely, really lovely film.
Yeah. With like independent filmmaking, I feel like that's always a thing. Like, how can I make something impactful? But it doesn't look cheap. It's like a whole thing. Yeah, sometimes it really stands out like a sore thumb. And you just like really pray you're avoiding that. Yeah. That's cool. But thank you so much for making some time.
No worries. Thanks for emailing and wanting to chat. Thanks for chatting.
So fun.
Thanks for joining me in this episode of Oscillations. Discover more about Volvox Observer on our website, volvox.observer. That's volvox.observer. And visit our pond, volvox.observer/pond, to let us know what you thought of this episode. See you next time.